while all faiths that seek God mankind has continued to be fascinated with religion and various aspects of religion. Most especially, mankind has, even into the distant past, been fascinated almost to the point of obsession with what they considered to be mysterious. And often, even in the distant past, that also meant what was considered to be ancient or from another culture. As a result, humanity has often failed to practice true religion to lift them to the divine, and has rather practiced that which appealed to the senses as a mysterious way to control nature and the elements, the angels, and even God. The understanding in Christianity and in most faiths that are of any true substance is that religion is meant to bring you into alignment with God's will, and that sorcery or witchcraft is meant to control God or the gods or the elements, to bring them into your control. Yet, too often, people have taken a religion which seems mysterious to them and have taken bits and pieces of it and turned it into sorcery or witchcraft. This is not something that is done with just one particular religion, but is something that has been done with all of the religions throughout all ages. It has occurred with the hope, spiritual consciousness, and much of the movement within Christianity to have God make good things happen. It has occurred within the Islamic faith by those who would think to control genies and jinns or angels. It has happened with those in the Jewish faith who have sought by the use of the Kabbalah or other mystical means to control the elements or the angels or the forces of nature. But it is not even limited to religions. It can also be that people cherry-pick philosophies and use them also as a means of sorcery. And this is one of those interesting facts. For the ancients used what is now called the mystery schools as a way to teach individuals about God and about the divine. But today, people often think of these as a way to control nature or the divine, to use the power of their spiritual essence or energy to manipulate and force outcomes, or to create abundance or wealth or prosperity, or to create healing or health. These things flow through man from God. They are gifts, and they can occur spontaneously or they can flow continuously. But they flow from a moment or a life that is in line with divine will. Not because an individual wishes to force them to be, but because an individual is in the will of the divine and allowing God to move through them. Now, this is the situation that exists because of man's desire to seek his own righteousness rather than the righteousness, the truth of God. That is to say that right is right, wrong is wrong. Truth is objective, not subjective. If it is subjective, it is not the truth. Although you might say it could seem to be a truth for the moment. What we are telling you is that true faiths must be built upon the truth, eternal truths, not upon temporary realities, but on the eternal reality. This is why the mystery schools are often so terribly misused. It was the habit of the ancient mystery schools to enact various occurrences of the stages of life and even the stages within the life beyond physical life as it is known in the here and now. But that was not to control or to manipulate what was existing or the divine, but rather was to bring that being to an awareness of the fullness of reality and to align that being closer to the teachings of God. However, today people take these same teachings and often misapply them and often misunderstand them and use them as if they are magic. And when something that is meant to be a life lesson to make a person come closer to God is used rather to control the elements of God, for that individual, it becomes magic or sorcery. And this then does not help with spiritual growth, but hinders because the individual develops pride and is using what was once a religion to bring man into awareness of the divine to do something different. It is using that religion to control the divine so that person can live outside of the eternal truths and feel justified. Because people want to have their own way and live in their truth, they will pick and choose and utilize parts of ancient or mysterious religions to justify their worldview and their temporary truth in order to disobey the absolute truths and absolute right and wrong boundaries set by the reality of the divine. God is not subject to man. Man does not control God, and it is foolish that any man would think by how they groom themselves or what they wear, or how they brush their teeth, or by what ritual they pray, that God is impressed and going to give them special gifts. What God sees is the purity of the heart. What God sees is the purity of the soul. What God sees is the purity of the thoughts. And what God responds to is that purity that allows the person to empty themselves so God can fill them with the Holy Spirit, the comforter that lasts forever. But if you are filled but for a moment with that Spirit fully, you are better off than one who seeks to invoke spirits to control all manner of things. For better are you, having experienced the Holy Spirit in all of its comfort, in all of its oneness, in all of its truth, and leaving this world than you are to be in this world and control all of it by any spirit other than the true spirit emanating from God. So mankind looks on the past and conjures up images of distant religions in Egypt and amongst various nations, saying that Enoch delivered special books or describing sacred rituals and symbols that were delivered by the gems to Solomon. And what do? By doing this, they distance themselves from God because they seek not the divine, but their own will. They do not say, God, thy will be done. Nor do they with the true and pure heart say, Inshallah. No, no. Rather, what they are doing, even if their words are the correct words, their actions are betraying them. What they are doing is saying, I want to be in control. I want to create wealth. I want to create health. I want to master the world. But those who would truly master the world are those who say, God, thy will be done. Not simply with their lame lips, but with their actions. And there still are mystery schools alive today. And they still teach through the same ancient rituals. And a few, a very fortunate few, get something more than just a social presence from these rituals. Yes, they actually learn a little bit about the value of life and death and life beyond life. And they learn a little bit about moral virtue in this life. But there are others that belong to many almost conspiratorial organizations, some of which are making great money at the spiritual expense of a multitude of people who are spending to learn how to do foolish things, to learn how to move energy, to learn how to astral project from their bodies, to learn how to see the past and the future. But these things are but divination unless they actually flow from the divine. And these things are sometimes gifts that are given to some individuals, but what you must understand is that we are speaking of those who are taking these things and misusing them. And that is the multitude. And those who would sell these things. And for legal reasons, you will understand, we are not giving you certain names. We can name religions, but we will not name these individual movements. Though, if you come across someone who is telling you that they are going to change your life by teaching you to astral project, or someone that tells you that they are going to have you look at a candle or into a mirror and see beyond the realms of today's reality, you can rest assured that they want your money, not your spiritual development, and that what they will give you is not spiritual development. They may indeed at times actually give you abilities. They may help you see beyond what you think you see now. But rest assured, they are doing you spiritual harm because they are not bringing you closer to God. Rather, they are teaching you to be prideful and self-sufficient, thinking that you can have control of this world and a world beyond. And they are giving you false hope, superstition, magic, and ultimately leading you on a path that is unprofitable, if not totally destructive. So we tell you this. While there are a few legitimate mystery schools in which you can learn of man's mortality and immortality and find brotherhood, there are many false societies that will give you hope where there is no hope and teach you that which you want to hear and guide you down a road that is meant to make them wealthy. While such may be justified by them at times by saying they are giving spiritual enlightenment. That is a self-justification. In their heart of hearts, they know what they are doing. In their heart of hearts, they know the destruction that is being created. So, hear this and hear this well. If you wish to seek the divine, there are plenty of legitimate avenues. There are Christian denominations. There are ancient real churches. There are other faiths that have sought the divine. And while there can be an argument made that some philosophies are not religion, and that mystery schools are not religions, for they are not in truth. Some of the religions have been at odds with the mystery schools, and some are not. But the ancient and accepted Freemasons teach and do not proclaim a religion, nor give anyone magic formulas. However, every other mystery school or New Age movement that exists is seeking to get your money and is seeking not to make you better, but to make themselves richer. And in the meantime, what you learn, what you gain, is your loss. So, we will tell you this: do not turn from the great supreme architect of the universe for foolishness, but rather realize that all truth must flow from God, not from yourself. Therefore, as a matter of wisdom, understand why the few great religions of today have survived, and why the ancient religions that died should be left dead. We leave you with blessings and with peace. Peace be with you.